I am here with Matt Garcia, architect. Matt, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm Matt Garcia. I'm a residential designer, a restaurant designer in Austin, Texas. I have a small design firm, and we just celebrated 13 years in business. And we've been designing great stuff in Austin for a long time.
I want to talk to you about communication at work because the kind of client services that you do are exactly what a lot of our communication graduates do. What kind of key principles do you think you use when communicating with clients?
Set an expectation that we're going to communicate weekly or bi-weekly. We never leave our clients in the dark about anything. And there's so many processes happening behind the scenes with, construction management, permitting, or just coordination, and letting the clients know, even if it was a slow week of like, hey, this got done, these two people are in communication, we got a proposal for this, whatever it is, it's always like a nice thing for clients to hear and they feel involved. And I think that's one of the most important parts of my business is making it a collaborative process with the client. And so, yeah, just an expectation. We're going to communicate a lot.
A lot of our public relations graduates are graphic design graduates. The graduates who are working with their own personal brand, with their own clients, would love to better understand your process for lead generation and making yourself known out there. I know you have a strong Instagram presence. What else do you do?
Build really strong relationships with our clients through the course of designing someone's home or a restaurant for an owner and a chef. It's a really intimate relationship that builds over time. To really design a custom project, clients need to open up and really communicate what they want and all the dreams, hopes, and wishes that are wanting in a project. And that is intimate. And they do have to open up to me and share those things, and those lead to the best projects.
You have to build trust so quickly with your clients. And I know that a lot of our students have to build trust too. How do you go about building trust with your clients?
It's so important for us to build trust with our clients. And it's something that we talk about all the time in the office amongst my team. And listening to them and responding to those little specifics they throw out, any idea they have, and tear out from a magazine 10 years ago there was something about that inspired them or made them think and go, wow, that could be really cool one day. So responding to those things, picking up the little cues, and it can be really easy for architects, designers to kind of design these things more with ego in mind and what they want to do and what are the aesthetic principles they want to achieve in their vision. But there's those moments where clients come to the table with something special, really unique, and something that inspires and incorporate it into that project and making them feel like really part of the process. And that builds trust really fast. So it's important for us every project to at least explore every client's idea and be honest with them if we explore it and can't find a great way to resolve it. And clients really appreciate that we looked at it. We at least explored it and they can see clearly that, oh yeah, that wasn't quite what I was thinking, or it didn't resolve itself the way I thought maybe. And just those little moments, I really feel like that builds huge trust with clients.
Certain questions that you find yourself asking clients more often than not.
I don't know if I have a prescribed inner questionnaire I find with clients. It just happens in that initial, I kind of call it a dating period, like a courting period between myself and clients where we're going to spend 2 or 3 hours together over a course of 2 or 3 meetings. And I just let the conversation happen really naturally. And I like to listen to my clients interact with each other and just pick up little nuances, pick up how they communicate with each other. I'm almost like observing in a lot of ways that initial courtship, just really the conversation happening naturally. I take clients to projects and show them work and just those inspiring moments that clients have and realizing I show them, here's how it starts, and then take them to a project, here's how it ends. And that inspiration that comes from that really gets them talking to each other. And hey, what if we had this? What if we had that? So those are those moments where I'm really listening in to see what are those little things they're throwing out. Even if amongst themselves they discard it, I might put it in my back pocket of like, well, I'm at least going to look at it.
In order to be at the level that you're at, you listen at probably a deeper level than most people. Can you describe how you listen to really set yourself apart from some other architects or other client services professionals? Because I think listening sets great salespeople apart. It sets great PR people. Great communicators often are better listeners. You have some guiding principles for listening that you could share with us?
Oh, the principles that I find about really listening to my clients and listening in for those little nuggets that, I can throw into a project, incorporate into a project and really collaborate with my clients, which is what I love to do. It's just really being present in that moment with them and not drifting off too far, thinking about the project in terms of little details here and there. It's just like in those moments where they're speaking, I stop sketching, even if I'm mid sketch. If they have something they're throwing out, I want to stop, listen, maybe respond to it in the moment or file it away for further exploration. Just really being present with them and valuing that time, even if it is 5 meetings in one day, is going, this is a special moment. People are trusting us to do this amazing thing. So I want to give them my full attention, and just that clients feeling like they have that level of attention is what is keeping us at this level that we're at. Is they feel special every time they walk in the door, and they don't feel like we're just another project. I want all my clients to feel like their project is our most important project. And that's like the minimum we want them to feel.
And you make that true, don't you? You make each client's project just as important as the next. I know you have a strong personal brand. Can you describe what that looks like?
It's all about communication, but it's doing what we say we're going to do and setting real expectations with our clients, even if at times it's not what they want to hear or not what they hoped in terms of timeline or, of course, budget. But it's being honest with them and saying, hey, here's what it takes to get where you want to be. And we can always take a left or right and still end up with an amazing project. We talk a lot in the office about under promising and over delivering. And what we mean with that is we would love to tell our clients everything they want to hear all the time. And they are just happy and full of joy. And yes, it's just going to all work out perfectly. But it's just a tough process. It's a long process. One of our projects can take 3 to 5 years on average. So that's a long time to be in constant communication with someone that's not a relative or a close friend. And spending so much time and walking through their house a million times with them. We say what we're gonna do, and that goes a long way with people. But yeah, we stay really true to, what we tell our clients our plans are, and if anything changes, we're quick to communicate, and we limit the amount of surprises. I talk about that a lot. That we are a very low surprise office, or we have an experience is very low surprise, which is hard to do in this profession. There's so many moving targets, but we've done it quite a few times, and we know how to navigate whatever kind of comes our way.
So you have 22 years of experience. You have an amazing reputation in Austin. Beyond the reputation, how else do you find yourself getting leads for new client conversations?
Our reputation, our clients are our biggest cheerleaders, and they bring in work for us. Their friends come to their houses, they see the houses. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people go to these restaurants and get to experience it. And the phone rings, and it's like, hey, we know Doug and Sabelle. Hey, we know friend Jody. Donna said, you're the guy. And that has been the case since day one of our clients loving the experience, us becoming friends throughout this process. And that's how we get 100% of our work is referrals from clients.
The Instagram presence, which is fantastic, by the way, is just a support piece to your personal brand. Your personal brand is really about that word of mouth where one client shares their experience with another or a few others, and that's what leads to more work for you.
Absolutely. Instagram is, I kind of consider it for my friends, for my collaborators. I love to give shout outs to our collaborators of people that are like actually executing the work that we're drawing and designing. And it feels like a part of a local creative community with Instagram and sharing what we're doing, sharing what Nicole and Rebecca are working on, sharing fun things we're doing, extracurricular activities we do. It's just communicating our personality. I post a lot of music, quote musicians I love in the feed and don't really talk about the design or architecture too much, to be honest. You're more likely to find a Grateful Dead lyric than a explanation of the work. It's to post beautiful photos of our work that we're proud of and share it with our community and with it's really for my friends more than anything else.
So those who are looking at your Instagram might one day be clients, but it's not the intention of your Instagram.
No, it's not the intention at all.
The intention is to build relationship, it sounds like. And you're not talking about the work all the time. You're talking about all sorts of other things that make you more approachable. That authenticity is probably part of why you're so successful on Instagram.
Absolutely, because it's communicating personality. It's a beautiful image, and you can take that in and process it and say, I like it or I don't like it. Swipe up, left, right, wherever you want to go. Or you can go like, oh, what's that lyric? And maybe you Google it and go, oh, here's this song. And oh, that's what Matt's into. Showing those more personal things. And I could talk about how we cited it and how we gently nestled our building amongst a grove of majestic oak trees. I read that literally 15, 25, 50 times a day, scrolling through design and architecture accounts. And although those are beautiful things, it doesn't set anybody apart. And it's just overused, overplayed in a way. I'd rather communicate a little bit more about my personality, my team's personality, what we're into. You might get to know working with us more than just delivering a building. It's future relationships, connections that come out of this experience.
Over the past 2 decades, you've been interviewed by some pretty high profile architectural magazines and press. Do you have some advice for speaking to the media and making the very best impression you can make?
I've had quite a few publications in the past few years, and we have had to talk to media writers quite a bit, editors, and that was an intimidating process at first. And I felt like I was maybe a little bit more reserved to kind of over explain or overshare, was maybe a little too trying to be a little bit too designy maybe in those interviews. And what I found that works really great actually, and what the writers really love if you get to that point past the editorial, if you get accepted, is I talk and talk and talk and talk and tell them I regale them in a novel of a story about the whole project. And then they have all this stuff to work with. And you have a lot of quotes, which is awesome. That's what communicates really well in the publications is sometimes you read them and the designer, the architect, whoever has like one quote or two quotes. And it's more of just a narrative, but I'm more interested in hearing that direct, like, here's how we did, here's how we thought of it. I take up all the time, whatever's allotted. If they allot 15 minutes, I request 30 and I'm just like hit record and I'm going to go and do whatever you want to do with this. Talk a lot in those interviews and just give them a bunch of stuff to use.
It is such a kindness because as someone working in the media, as a reporter, you want it to be easy to pick out those quotes to tell the story. And you want that richness and that exposition and that narrative to really drive your story. So you have a good piece too, as a reporter.
Absolutely. The writer wants to keep writing, of course. They want to keep to get more work. So giving them all the info, giving them little, details, tidbits here and there, a funny story, a fail that worked into a positive, getting deep into a challenging moment that happened, either having to make a sacrifice or budget engineer something, give up something that you were passionate about design wise. Those are really important too. The fails, heartbreaks in a way. Those happen on every project. You get 98%. It's hard to get 100. So there's those little things. It's not just how great you designed it and how great you did and how beautiful everything is. Tell a story about the project, not just that, oh, these are Italian fabrics. These are whatever designer trendy thing it is. What was the heart of the project? How did the team come together for this thing? How did everybody make sacrifices for each other to get to this greater thing of this project?
I imagine being in business for as long as you have and reaching the level of success that you have encountered some communication failures. Can you think of what those might have looked like in the past and what you might have learned from them?
Our whole job is so much of it is communicating, whether it's verbally or graphically, which is kind of a whole nother thing. I could think back to, of course, not too long ago, 2020, and just it was incredibly difficult to communicate with clients, to communicate with our vendors, to communicate with the contractors. Kind of no one knew what was happening. No one knew what was going on, and no one had the same response. everyone had their own response. Everyone went their own way. And even though we were under some restrictions as a whole, everyone was kind of in their hole fending for themselves. And the communication timeline definitely got spread out. Where I think when we were leading up to that, we were humming so quickly that we email a client, we get an email back that day within 18 hours, no longer than 2 days, where we're going back and forth, very fast pace. And of course, once we hit that moment, then it was not hearing from our clients for 2 weeks and playing the waiting game and waiting for to hear from a contractor. Hey, all the plumbers got sick, so there's no one here, so we're waiting. Everything was just in such disarray. It was just impossible to keep a timely communication schedule. And our typical processes of communicating were just kind of blown out the window. We had to adapt and we had to be patient. Once the initial roar of everything simmered a little bit and everyone kind of was able to get on the same page a little bit, it was a whole new thing and it hasn't changed. It's still different than it was before. Way more of these type of meetings happening for sure than ever before. We had to evolve to learn how to communicate design over a screen like this. Very different than sitting in the room with clients and getting to read those, pick up those cues, emotional cues. That was a really difficult time to communicate what we got to communicate.
It sounds like this experience really impacted the customer journey. In personal branding, we talk a lot about the customer journey and how to articulate that so that clients or customers can understand what's coming and how that relationship might evolve. Can you walk us through a customer journey for your clients?
There's a whole communication pattern that happens over the course of one of our projects. There's waves and flows of where communicating a lot. Then it's kind of people are working in the background and we're updating every once in a while. Then once construction starts, it kind of gets busy again. But that early process and that courtship, we're meeting a lot in person. We're showing our work. We're talking about our work a lot in person. I like to drive the clients around to those meetings. So we're in the car together. We're kind of forced to have that awkward silence and conversation. Those first like 3 to 6 months of working together, so much of it, and I try and focus on it, is actually getting just to know each other. Not just trying to solve their architecture problem or their design issues or, design the house. Of course, that's, what we're there to do, but it's really getting to know them. So we're communicating a lot. We're asking a lot of questions. Those conversations just naturally happen. And any chance we get to have extracurricular time with our clients, we're always game for that. And then as we go through design, of course, we're communicating our design. We're communicating our vision. We're communicating how we're taking their wants and needs and molding it, shaping it, and creating a building they can live in and celebrate and experience in a different, a unique way just for them. And so that's intense. And that's really pretty like vulnerable communication of explaining how you design something, how you got somewhere. You're kind of showing all your cards of like a lot of thoughtfulness and it's a lot of trial and error. It's such a process to get there. So those ideas and presenting those wants that you kind of want to express design wise, I still get nervous every meeting. Even though I've been doing it for 20 something years, presenting work and the work being successful, still I'm like, oh, we gotta talk about how I thought about this thing and how I designed this thing. I think clients love that. And I think that also helps build trust. We're listening a lot in those early moments and absorbing a lot from them and picking up so much that we can then turn into something that inspires them. And then we get to a point where we've kind of finished the design and now it's time for us to really do the drawings and figure out how this building's going to work and function and permit it with the city and get contractors to bid it, all that nuts and bolts. We've done the romantic design architecture part. Now it's time for the, nitty gritty, less glamorous stuff, the stuff they're not going to see in the walls. Communication, it doesn't stop, but it definitely is less intense, less frequent in that time. We're updating. We're definitely having meetings throughout, selecting finishes, selecting plumbing hardware and appliances and all those kind of things. But those are more budget oriented, time oriented. Ordering a refrigerator could take a year, it could take 3 weeks still. So there's those like real factors that are going on in those meetings, less here's how the sun comes through this window at this beautiful angle kind of stuff. Those are interesting communication examples because at that point you're seeing your client You're watching your clients communicate amongst each other, talking about what's important to them with their cooktop, what's important to them with their sink. And you're really getting the innards of someone. What are these little things that they want? And then, of course, once construction begins, that's when we're meeting multiple times a week. We're looking at things, we're verifying things, we're measuring things with them to make sure they understand. We're mocking things up before we put all the stone up. We're going to put a small mock up so they can see, like, oh, here's how the stone's going to look before we do the whole thing. And maybe they go, we didn't know it was that color, or we didn't get how it was going to look that big. So just showing them as much as we can. I always say so much of this is an education with our clients of here's all the wonderful things that this process has to offer. There's a lot of waves to navigate, but we get them there. We know how to get them there. Everything is communication, clear, concise, and timely.
I'd imagine that in that process, there are times when people might have some strong emotions because building a house is such a personal emotional journey. Can you speak to how you navigate those stronger feelings with clients?
There's definitely times where disappointing news, whether it's budget, a schedule, whatever it is, there's definitely moments where clients react emotionally. And those are challenging times, but it happens. And it's something that I've had to learn to navigate and be able to be present, acknowledge why something's disappointing a client, why they're upset, really listen to what went wrong, what didn't meet their expectations, and find a way to remedy it. And it's typically a very 9.9 times out of 10, it's been a miscommunication about something, a little detail that just, got lost in the 10 people communicating about one countertop. The thing got missed that we need an extra slab and that's an extra whatever, or it's got to come from Italy and it's going to take 3 more months. Small examples, but just listening to the client and hearing them out. And most of the time, we're disappointed too with them. We definitely have empathy for them. We wanted it here faster. We didn't want it to cost more money. Most of the time, we're typically on the same page about the disappointment. Again, man, it just comes back to listening and acknowledging. And I think a big thing is talking about with clients is that this happens on every project. And this isn't a special occurrence that just happened on their project. These delays, the budget stuff, it's every project. Material markets have been a moving target for the past 4 years. Things go up, they go way down. All of a sudden they're available, they're not available. So I think it's something that we actually have to be really good at early on is we can talk about all the wonderful, beautiful, romantic things that are going to happen throughout this process. But I do think I've gotten pretty good at saying there's also going to be those moments of frustration because it is hard to control all these moving parts. We're working with 20 to 30 subcontractors, and they're working with 20 to 30 suppliers and manufacturers times under 20 or 30. So there's like hundreds of people involved in this job, where you see them or not. These projects take so long. And that's the real hard part is from the time we price a project, get it permitted to the time it starts construction could be 6 months, could be a year. And as we've seen, the market can do crazy things. Interest rates can do crazy things over the course of 6 to 12 months. Shipping, dock worker strike, any number of things can happen. So I think we do a pretty good job of early on. We don't sugarcoat it too much. This is just going to be this beautiful, romantic, wonderful movie process. There's going to be some ups and downs, but we know how to navigate them and we know how to pivot and we know how to get our clients from moments of frustration through the 360 and get us back where we need to be. And typically later on in those projects, there's always a moment of like, hey, that was a tough time, but man, you got us there just like you said you were going to. And we really appreciate that. That's why you're our guy.
You're not sugarcoating things, but you're listening and you're acknowledging that things went wrong. And at the same time, being very direct and upfront about how you're going to handle it as an agency. How can someone who is just a single self-employed business owner scale up to grow their influence in their business?
From the time I started, it was just me when I started MGD and sit in the office all by myself every day. About a year in, I realized I needed to hire someone. I needed help. That was just a great acknowledgement of just that alone that I needed help, needed to ask for some. And I've had a wonderful employee, Nicole. She's been with me for 12 of the 13 years. So in those early days, I was very clear with her on what I needed. And I didn't sugarcoat that either, of that it was going to be glamorous at first, or she was going to get to be doing a lot of design at first. I was clear that I needed her to really learn how the permitting process worked, how the little specifics work, and just being very clear with Nicole from day one on what she does, how she contributes, and what I need from her. And what that did is it made her comfortable with telling me the same thing. Hey, here's what I need from you. Here's what I need your expertise. Our communication has just been so clear and upfront from day one. There's never been a moment where we haven't been able to talk about whatever, worked, didn't work. And that's been, I think, really inspiring for future employees I've had. I've had a number of employees over the year, maybe 20, 25 employees over all these years, and interns, some full-time employees. What's made people enjoy working for us is, and so much of it is applies to Nicole too, is it hasn't just always been about the architecture or the job. It's getting to know them, getting to know what their interests are, finding those common interests. That's what the office banter becomes, is talking about those things that we have in common, things that we're doing, and the relationship gets personal, just like we have with our clients. It's the same thing with our employees. That my just philosophy of me is getting to know the people that are supporting me, that are inspiring me, and getting to know what makes them tick and what makes them inspired. Just listening, just deeply listening.
Listening, putting your ego aside, being clear and direct with your communication, not sugarcoating things, and being proactive with your communication. Are there any other things that are big that are part of the keys to success for your agency?
Celebrating the collaboration process and not feeling like it's all about us, and embracing our clients' thoughts and ideas, embracing my team's thoughts and ideas. Of course, it's easy for me to go, my name's on the door, my word is the final word. But embracing everyone's ideas, our contractors, our subcontractors, love talking to the subcontractors, the real guys who are welding, putting the steel together, putting the roof on, doing the waterproofing, installing the windows, building the cabinetry, the plumbing, all these guys. I love listening to them because they're the ones who are actually doing the work. I can draw all the pretty pictures and do all the pretty renderings and beautifully explain the thoughtfulness behind the design. But at the end of the day, it's coming down to these people actually installing it. So embracing them, collaborating with them. I see those guys as actually the most valuable people on these projects. So it's embracing your team, embracing all the people, celebrating all the people that inspire you, promote your firm to that next level. People that deeply invest in your success and the firm's success deserve all your attention and admiration, and deserve the listening and the acknowledgement.
It sounds like this kind of a relational driven business might be a little bit more insulated from the tsunami of AI we're seeing. How has AI impacted your business, or maybe it hasn't yet?
Being able to type in whatever you want the sky to be, the trees to be, the color of the whatever to be, and it just can so quickly process information and create, I mean, such realistic worlds is really cool. But I will continue to develop. I would love to just talk to my software and say, do this, draw a line 15 feet, and not have to click, type, remember all the hotkeys. I would love to do that one day. I think if AI were to get to a point where a client could, on an app or a website, do the whole thing and end up with something they could hand to a builder to build, or it gets printed, or whatever level we're talking about, I think that's totally cool. And I think that'll be hopefully a more affordable route for people that don't have the interest of spending all this time with me, 4 or 5 years of getting into the nitty gritty little details of a project. Maybe it's not that project for them. Maybe it's not their forever home. Maybe it's not the house they want to go all in on, which is kind of the houses we do. It takes us time to do our thing. That works for some people it doesn't. So I think that's going to be a great route. This is a profession that's gone back forever, of course. We're talking about Michelangelo designing buildings. There's always going to be a clientele that wants to work with a person and have that relationship, have that fun, have those moments of collaborating on creating something beautiful and thoughtful and special.
And I can see the AI being much more useful for the architect to help serve their clients better, more than a replacement anytime soon, because that relational part is so important. And those nuances that you describe are so much more important in this kind of relationship versus maybe some other kinds of relationships.
If the client is disappointed, how do you handle that? If something doesn't work out the way maybe the client thought it was gonna work out and some weird thing like that, it's gonna be so interesting to see how that evolves over time.
And related, you've seen other emerging technologies which have helped you do your job. The drone capabilities, the cameras improved, the VR improvements. How has that impacted your relationships with clients?
There's been, so many technological advances in my profession with software, with hardware, and our ability to more easily create a realistic environment that we're designing in on the computer. That's like really accounting for where the sun's gonna be on this exact day at this exact time, and being able to create 3D models of topography of our sites and see, I mean, just it's we're able to communicate to our clients, here's what your project is really going to look like. How Frank Lloyd Wright did it with like 5 drawings back in the day that were on blue paper. How he got a client to sign off on a project just blows my mind. He must have been the master at communicating. We're able to really show our clients what these projects are going to look like, and we can show them quickly. Hey, here's the red tile. Here's the yellow tile. Here's the green tile. Here's the black countertop. Here's the white countertop. So that gives them so much more confidence in the decisions we're making early on and giving them more confidence to stick by those decisions because they've gotten a little taste of it in some kind of digital format where they can see like, oh yeah, that's a well-balanced composition or a well-balanced detail or whatever it is. So as these continue to get better and better, it helps us better communicate to our clients. Like, here's the project to give them a little bit of a little like taste of experience before they get to move in. And that's just always exciting. Everyone, of course, wants that little preview, that little taste of it.
And having it on the really big screen or even having it in VR, that's a huge difference from the models of the olden days when you had all these models that you were building and meticulously constructing. Has that been a big improvement in client adoption of different choices, whereas in the past, they might not have been able to visualize it as much?
With all these new advances, all the clients are, we're trying to really take advantage of all these things to give our clients just that next level experience. And there's still things that we're looking into, like VR. I'm not as savvy as I used to be with the software and stuff, but that's why I have our sharpshooter Rebecca, who is really on top of all that stuff. And she educates me now on what's capable and what's possible. And that's kind of an interesting thing to take a step back from that. Of course, when I was younger in school and just out of school, I was like at the forefront of all the latest technology, and you've kind of been doing it the same way for a while now. So it might be time to expand.
Well, you're so busy with client relationships and the nourishing of those relationships, which is directly connected to your livelihood, that you almost have to hire someone who is a specialist in order to help educate you on these new technologies.
Hopefully, hey, Rebecca, I can't keep up with all this anymore. I need you to keep up with what's the latest rendering software. Can you update my thing to show me how I can look at it the way you're looking at it, the way you look at it? That's just a part of just asking for help and offloading something that I don't need to be doing because, yeah, so much of my job is that client relationship, bringing in the clients, and I'm talking to them all day, every day, phone calls, texts, emails.
And you're able to tell the story of how you will be working together in that initial phase. You're able to tell the story of what that house is going to feel like at the end. And that kind of storytelling helps drive that relationship forward because you're able to paint that picture and that vision of what they want.
I found that storytelling is such a huge part of this. And from talking from those initial conversations, from how this process is going to go for the next whatever amount of time, I learned that from my boss that I worked really intimate with, Dick Clark. He had a wonderful way of, he really romanticized the process and what we were doing and the thoughtfulness. And I just would see the client's eyes lit up. I also, got to sit right next to him and watch him with clients. You always learn stuff like that from your elders. It's been cool to be able to look back at that and take away, wow, I learned so much from him on how to storytell, how to not make it so black and white. It's not just lines on a page. There's experience that's going to happen, and there's moments that you're going to have in the space. That's such a huge part of it. It's practice, and I find that I get better and better at it every project. I finally understand why they call it a practice because it really is. Every project is like another game. Walk away better every time.
Matt, where can people find you online? And if you could please spell out your handles for our listening audience.
Yeah, if you're looking for us online, you can check out our website is Matt, Matt, Garcia Design, and that's design singular, not designs with an S.com, mattgarciadesign.com. And our Instagram is the same. It's just at Matt Garcia Design.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your wisdom. And again, we just so appreciate you.
Thank you, Ryan. This is really fun, and always great to talk to you about this stuff.